Vénganse, vénganse, vénganse. Vamos a jugar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a llorar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a jugar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a tomar hoy, hoy, hoy.
Welcome, friends, to another episode on this frequency. We are your hosts. I'm Natalie.
I'm Rickie Lee.
And behind the board, we have Raymond Andrew.
Yes, we do. And today's episode is surprisingly brought to you by Tablas Wine. We have a special indirect guest here. My dad is here from Ensenada, and he brought us this delicious wine that we have not cracked open. But thank you, Tablas.
Yes, it's honestly one of my favorite. And I'm not saying it because
You're
my
biased?
father-in-law is here. I'm biased, but it really is good. So we have a special guest today, Luis Mota. He is not only Rickie's cousin, but he also wrote the song that you now hear in our introduction. Welcome, Luis.
Hi, Luis.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
So, Luis, we wanted to start with asking you a couple of questions, all right? So, answer as quickly or as slowly and thoroughly as you want, okay?
So don't think about it. Don't think about it. Just go.
Go with your gut on these, okay? So, your first question, when was the first time you fell in love?
Oh,
I feel like that's a
man.
trick
I'm going to get in
question.
trouble here.
Yes.
Why are you guys asking me this? No, I'm kidding.
It could be with a pet, with a friend. This
pet.
can be any kind of love, okay?
You know,
when was the first
surprisingly,
time?
my memory is very, very vague when I was little. But the only thing that I do remember is this dog that we had. The name was Halif. And
Halif?
man, Halif. It was a boxer. She was a boxer. And, you know, that dog is always in the background of my mind, always. You know, puppies. I remember her when I was growing up. That's pretty much my childhood, to be honest with you. So I would say that's when my first time I fell in love.
That's sweet. I love
That's
that.
a real good and safe answer, Luis. Clutch.
All right, next question. When was the last time you cried?
Oh man, deep cried probably 2 years ago.
Okay,
If
hold
you're
on.
talking about just a little teary-eyed, maybe about a week ago.
Oh,
Tell us about both.
Yes.
Oh man. Okay. So this last week there was a whole thing with the promotion at a job and all that, and it looks like they took another route. So it just got a little, teary. I was like, you know what? It's okay. You know, I got this. I'm gonna show out anyways because that's just who I am.
Right.
And 3 years ago, honestly, it was just one of my darkest times. I was going really through a lot of depression, anxiety, and it was probably the first time I ever really deeply cried like that, to be honest with you.
You said
I'm talking about
the first time you ever deeply cried?
Yeah, I mean, that I remember. I mean, I think I cried more than anything because I didn't know what I was feeling, to be honest with you. I was fully clothed in the shower, everything type of cry. You know what I'm saying? So
Man.
it was that type of cry.
Oh, that's a good cry. But, okay, you felt better after though, right?
Well, I felt better months after. But
Not initially.
Not initially, but it was some kind of a release.
it was. It definitely was. I mean, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and explaining the difference between a deep, profound cry and a teary cry.
Yeah.
It's nice to know men cry.
Yes. All right. And the last question. What have you told your inner child lately? What have you told young Luis?
That it's okay to keep believing in your dreams. Keep believing in yourself.
Okay, so here's
For
here's my question to you. What little Luis? How old is that little Luis that you're talking to?
It's not that old. I mean, not that young. Probably like 10, 11 years old, to be honest with you.
So at 10, 11 years old, you had a dream. You had things that you wanted to pursue, right?
Yeah.
And then, so this is a two-part question. A, what was it that you were dreaming about? What is it that you wanted to pursue? Let's start with that. So answer that question. What were you dreaming about at that age?
Being a veterinarian. I
What?
wanted to be some type of doctor, some type of, some type of helping somebody else out. So yeah, I mean that's what I was dreaming at that time. That's what I wanted to believe in myself.
Mm.
Do you still want to be a vet?
Yeah, but I this is where I kind of hold myself back because I'm like, man, that's a lot of years. I don't think I got that many dang years.
So then you think like the time that you have to put in, and
Yeah,
then by the time you
yeah,
get done and all of that, and you've already committed to a whole other career, I assume, right?
yeah. A
But
whole lifestyle. I mean, I really wish that I would have
Mm.
thought about this when I was in high school and stuff like that. Like really put
Ah,
that thought into it.
I see.
did you share with anybody that you wanted to be a vet?
I think my whole family knows from this side. Obviously, I mean, they would always say how I always talked about it, how that's what I wanted to be, and this and that. But it's just uh, I not in the sense that I lack support, but I think I did. But that's a whole different conversation to have.
Okay, so here's my other question. There's the lacking support, and then there's dream crushing. Which one did you have your dreams crushed? Did you have any parent or
Mm.
family be like, "You can't, you'll never do that"? Did you have
Mm.
ever any of that?
No, I don't think so. I think it was
Oh,
just
good.
the support. I think
Got
it was
it.
a support thing.
Got it. That makes sense. I get that. I get that a lot. So, all right, if you're telling yourself what you're telling your inner child is don't give up on your dreams, keep believing, but you don't want to be a vet anymore. So, what is it that you're telling yourself not to give up on as it
Uh,
relates to your life right now, right?
not to give up on myself. I mean,
Mm,
honestly, not to give up on myself, not to give up on who I am, and
Your
what I want. I always
passions.
go for what I actually want. So even though I don't want to be a veterinarian, I mean, I always want to remind myself, man, like you're here for a reason, and you got to keep going and don't give up.
Mm.
I like that. I like that. And I think it kind of, so this episode we're talking about value, and we kind of played around with different types of definitions of what value is. What makes you a valuable person? What do others consider valuable about you, et cetera, et cetera. And this came because I had a Ray and I always have these really deep conversations in the most inopportune time.
Mm.
And we were talking about my, this little meltdown that I had where I placed so much value
Mhm.
of who I was in the things that I did, in my
Mm.
successes, right?
Mhm.
So being able to tell people, well, I achieved this, and I've done these great things in my life, and I've worked with these great people in my life.
I see.
I really believe that gave me some kind of credibility, right?
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm here. This is what I've done.
Yeah.
You know, value me. I'm valuable. I'm
Right.
valuable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Ray, I because of all of that, it really made me have to recalibrate what was valuable to me, like what I that actually meant. Do you remember the conversation, Ray?
We've actually had a few conversations about value, just in general. Like,
Mm.
This one in particular was we were talking about Ray DJs at Dodger Stadium,
Mhm.
along with our other DJs as well. And Ray said, "You know what? If I don't ever DJ there again, if I don't ever, I'm not those things.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not."
Right.
Do you remember now? Do
yeah, I do.
you want to
Well,
elaborate?
I say that because we get so caught up in the way society perceives us that we want to look good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Or we just don't want to look bad. Maybe not look good all the time, but we just don't want you to see when it is bad. So sometimes we don't even show when we're doing bad, right? We just kind of go ghost. But I think when that happens is we start placing value in the things that we do
Yeah.
rather than who we are as an individual. So when I said that, it was more so just to say, like, if for some reason I never got the opportunity again to do it, I'm okay with that. There's
Right.
no value as great as the opportunity is, and which is very rare, especially in Los Angeles. Like
That part.
to be one of the few that are able to go back and perform for people, it's obviously it's something that you got to like treasure, right? But at the end of the day, like I told you, Ricky, when I go home, my kids, they don't care about that.
Right.
That has no value, and what has value to me is what my kids worry about, or what my kids, how they see me. So
Yeah.
I could DJ at Dodger Stadium, I could DJ in whatever venue you want me to be at, but that don't mean nothing to my kids.
Right.
What they care about is the man that's behind that door when he gets home, and that's where the value has to be placed, because a lot of times we're so worried about having such a high value for other people that don't matter to us.
And see, that's what I think I was doing, right? I'm over here projecting to people, this is what I've done, and most people don't even care. Like the
Right.
people that I was worried about don't care.
Yeah.
And I was so in my head about, you know, in particular, you know, with Rose City Sound, that if this didn't work out or if this failed,
Yeah.
well,
What
then
is your life?
What was gonna happen to me?
Yeah.
Now what? Now who am I? And then in that conversation with Ray, it was, you're way more than that. You are
Right.
not. You are not what you do. You are
Right.
not what you build, which can go both ways, because you are a collection of all those achievements and failures and all that other stuff. But I was really in my head about it, and it made me, for some reason, I found it very comforting for Ray to say, like, if I don't have any of this, like, none
It's
of that
okay.
really matters. Like,
Right.
what matters is the people that, like, your children walking through the door, and how you make them feel.
Right.
So, to my point, I think that what is valuable is how you make people feel.
Yeah, I would agree, because even like with what you guys are saying, I think that's one of my biggest turnoffs about people is when people go, oh, I do this and I work for whatever, and I'm like, so I don't
So I turned
care.
you off a lot?
No. But so I believe that you should be able to flaunt, hey, you know what? I do work here. I do have these things, blah, 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 because you have worked hard to get to these places, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with being happy for yourself in that regard. But like you were saying, I am more than just what the Dodger Stadium, for example, right? What interests me about people is what makes you tick? What makes you giggly? What makes you upset? What makes you happy? What foods are you turned off by? You know, that I believe has a lot to do with value and the things that make people happy and excited and give them value. In the end, going back to that, you know.
So you're more interested in the value that you have for other people, like that you could actually be valuable to someone else.
Explain.
So
Maybe I'm not understanding.
So you're saying like it's not, obviously you're proud of your accomplishments, and it's not, that's, you take a part of that, right? But it's not necessarily what makes you. The other things that make you, that I guess put the value all together, is how valuable you are to other people.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So
yes,
all the things that make people tick, that's what you're saying is their value.
right.
What makes
right.
people move is their value. Got it. Okay. So then, Luis, I'll pose this question to you. What makes you tick, and what value is that?
You know, that whole conversation you guys were just having is there's different sections to that. Like, I think a lot of people want to feel more appreciated about their value than actually just say, this is what I'm valuable because of this, this, and this, you know. And like, to Natalie though, like, you know, to find out what their ticks are and all that, that's more about finding out their personality. But a lot of people have walls built up, you know, like they're not just going to come up and be like, hey, I just met you, and this, and this is how I am. They're more like, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I've accomplished. And this is who I am based on what society is asking for. But
Yeah.
That's a good point.
What makes me tick, I mean, I would say that what's valuable about me is just my perspective. The way that I view life and the way that I view things in general. I mean, I'm here to make sure that everybody feels that same value within themselves, you know, even if I'm in my lowest part. But I think that's also my downfall, is I'm too worried about everybody else before I worry about myself as well.
So that's actually an incredible point that you make, Luis, because I'm like that, right? I am struggling and have struggled through feelings of worthlessness or not being good enough. And I've struggled with that my whole life. And so what I do is try to make people not feel what I feel, whether I'm not even really thinking about the other person, but I'm always trying to like accommodate,
Make them
and
feel
make
better.
people feel good, make people feel loved, make people feel worthy, make people feel appreciated, Luis. And to your point also, but that comes at a deficit, because when you're so worried about making people feel valuable, you're pouring all of your cup into others, emptying yours completely, all because you want them to feel what you don't feel
Right.
of value. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're kind
Yeah.
of removing yourself altogether. You're denying your own feelings and thoughts about your worthiness. You're not doing the work.
No, because it's easier to make other people feel better than to try to figure out why I can't make myself feel better.
Yeah.
That's a lot easier.
It's a very fine line though. Like,
Yeah.
it's like work, to balance as your manager, right? It's to balance, being friendly and being, dictator type, it's a fine line to balance. But I think you have to learn first yourself before you try to save others, right? You got to be able to get yourself situated first. And to be honest with you guys, that's something big. That was the reason why when you guys asked me, the deep cry, that was something big that I was dealing back then. Like, I was trying to show love to people that I didn't even feel for myself, So it was really, it's something really deep. But you want to help those people because you've been in that position.
Right.
You just got to know when to take your hand out of there, and let them deal with their own cards,
I love that you said that. So do you know, I'm assuming that you learned as a result of all of that when to identify that you need to take your hand out of something. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. I thank my dad for that, to be honest, because it's just hard. Yeah. Just because, again, you just can't be focusing on everybody else and let your life around you just start going downhill.
Luis,
It's hard. Yes.
I got a question, bro. Do you think this is to go with, and either for Natalie or Ricky, but do you think when people do that, when they pour so much into other people, obviously it's through the caring, right? But when you guys do that and you find yourselves doing that, do you think a big part of that is because you're trying to avoid what you have to deal with yourself first?
Most definitely. You're trying to make sure that you don't have to focus on yourself and your problems at the end of the day. And that would go back to feel value, right? Like, if you can help somebody else, they will, appreciate you, and you'll start feeling valuable, and you'll
and
forget about
accepted.
what you're actually going through in the background.
Yeah. It's one of those, like, you can, and we hear it all the time, and we do it to our friends and our family. Oh my God, I'm so happy for you. You deserve this. Yeah, of course they deserve it, but you can only say that so much. Why don't we say that to ourselves more? I deserve this. I'm worthy. I deserve the opportunity, the wealth, the creativity. I deserve all of these things for myself just as much as I wish them for others. And I don't think we have that conversation with ourselves enough, because we're so quick to be negative about it. I'm a mess. I'm worthless. I'm this. I'm that.
Do you think that's because society tells us that we're not supposed to?
Not
so.
supposed to deserve it?
No,
Or
that
not supposed to think positively?
Because if you acknowledge yourself and you acknowledge the things that you have done, there, a big majority of society will look at you like, well, whoop-de-doo, like, congratulations. Like, society puts a negative notion on that. So we put ourselves down before we actually lift ourselves up.
And let's think about who our society is. The closest society that we have are our friends and families, and their behaviors and their judgments and their assessments and their beliefs on what you should or should not do.
And
right?
and I wonder how that is different for men and for women in our friend and family group. How are they cheering you on, or as opposed to, how are they cheering on men as opposed to the women? And I hate to bring it up, but it's just such a hot topic. You can't help the patriarchy. You know what I mean? So I do think that, um, and I can't speak for the men, right? So you guys will have to help us out here. But I think for the women, it's like, no, take care of your kids, take care of your family, take care of your home, blah blah blah. And they give you, and it starts very young, right? You baby girls, they'll get a baby doll, you'll get an easy bake oven, you'll get the little house. But then boys, they get Legos, they get trucks. Be an entrepreneur, be a critical thinker, think for yourself, da 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 da. And so again, generalizing, right? So I don't know how men and women are trained differently to think, oh no, only think this much, don't think bigger, don't want more, don't look for more for yourself, because you have to be here. But men, go follow the money, get more, be bigger, be a provider, da 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 da. The pressures are different, right?
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about all the things that I got growing up, like toys and stuff. Like, what did I get growing up?
Yeah.
I got an Ewok, like a stuffed Ewok, which I loved, and I still have. I need to find it.
Yeah.
I didn't get, excuse me, like, I got very neutral toys, like a lot of neutral things. And I think before saying that it was imposed on me that a specific role, I think creativity was at the base of my upbringing, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't feel pressure either way. I was just so abundantly surrounded by creativity. So not just music, but through literature and through art and through, I had all of these things in front of me growing up that kind of guided me through everything.
Yeah.
And now I forgot where I was going with that thought. God, Jesus. We were talking about just that the patriarchy and all that stuff. Now, the downside to all of that is growing up, yes, I would say that I saw a lot of support naturally poured into men, right? So for instance, I think about my dad and his brothers, and they had bands and everybody would go and play. My brother, when he was in a band, like my grandparents were at the Key Club at a heavy metal show supporting my brother and my cousin Mondo,
Right.
It's just such a thing that you have to support men. You have to immediately give them that value, that support is just, here you go, red carpet. Where I'm here, not even inviting the men in my family to come listen to this podcast.
Right.
I'm like, they're not going to care. Well, who cares? My grandparents didn't care about heavy metal, but they were there.
Listened. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was an automated thing.
Right.
So it's different. And Luis, what do you think about that? Because, hey, you're my cousin on both sides, which for the record, I want to clarify.
Yeah.
Luis is literally my cousin twice. His dad married my mom's sister.
Okay.
Wait,
so you guys are super cousins.
Hold on. I said that totally wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. His dad married my mom's sister. Yeah, okay. Now that sounded just weird coming out of my mouth. It was like, what? So we're both maternally and paternally.
His dad, meaning your uncle on your dad's side, married your mom.
Yeah, my mom's
your
sister.
Mom's sister. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, this is taking a turn.
Yes. But what Luis, would you say in our family, do you think that naturally our family has valued and supported the men more than the females?
It's kind of a tough question.
It is.
I'm gonna kind of take a couple steps back to start off with, like what Natalie was saying about the women and the men. I mean,
yes.
I just think that is just how we are wired to begin with, just to kind of think about men and women have to do this and do that.
Yeah.
I think it also is big, heavy on generations. Like, I think this generation is definitely breaking that ritual, right? That continuing to be men and women. But I think also the women are slowly finding out that everything that men are capable of, maybe the women can't be, That's to no disrespect to nobody. I can't speak about women and nothing like that, because I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. To clarify, you're saying that women are realizing that they can't do some things that men can do? Is that what you said?
In a sense, yeah. And even men can't do women stuff. Like, I'm sitting here like I can't sit down and paint nails and do hair and all
you
this
could.
crap, you know what I'm
you
saying?
could do both of those things,
but I don't.
What you
but I
can't
don't
do is have a
that.
baby. You can't give birth to a baby.
So I
big,
get what Luis is actually saying in
Okay.
in that context. So I'll Luis, go ahead and continue, and then I'll give you guys the breakdown of listening to the three of you because neither one of you are actually wrong. You guys are all like
Yeah.
are 100
which
percent correct.
which I would say would be going back down to how we were raised. And I was raised by my mom. I wasn't raised by my dad that much. So I don't really think I had that man mentality at the end of the day either. To be honest with you,
Oh
like that's
wow.
something that I learned throughout the years. And when
Mm.
you go, what the family has and what's not, like I think if none of y'all know, like we're from Texas over here. My side of the
Yeah.
family is from Texas, and everybody's over there from Cali. So I think the Texas family and the California family are, in a sense, completely different people. But from
Mm.
what I've seen, I mean, that side of the family in Cali definitely supported the guys a lot.
Right.
And over here, I mean, my dad, it was just my dad and I, and then obviously my brothers and my sisters. But it was different. But I mean, my mom came and supported me all the dang time. So I can't really, and that goes back down to my memory is very vague. I don't know if it's just my self blocking memories or not, but it's
Luis,
hard.
what do you consider me? California Mota or Texas Mota?
A California Mota.
I was born there, Luis, in Texas.
Well, here, let me tell you something. It might dive deep, okay?
Oh,
Before we get out of the conversation, I'm just gonna break it down like
I'm
that.
scared.
We
If
like
I
deep.
can relate, if I can relate to anybody, a lot would be Ricky and the girls and Carlos. I think
Yes.
that's the people when I talk about the California people, those are the people that and I see a lot of them and me and a lot of me and them. So
Yes.
honestly, like
Mm.
I would say I consider you California people because you live over there. But if I can say anything, I mean I feel closest to you guys. And
Oh,
that's my
that's
fault
sweet.
as well.
I feel validated and valuable. Thank you, Luis. I'm with all of that. But I do have a question about you mentioned that you were raised majority by your mom, so you didn't have a lot of those paternal elements that you then figured out that you were missing. Do you remember the moment that you figured out you were missing that? Does that make sense?
I'm not even gonna lie to you. Yeah, I do, but I no, I think it just came within. To be honest with you, um, it's something to dive in deeper. Yeah, I mean, even though I live with my mom, like my mom worked all the time, so not that I was raised by the streets or nothing like that, but I
But
was
you
I
were.
was a little I was a little malandro out there, doing the wrong things with the wrong people. So I think I learned the wrong side of where I wanted to be at,
Mm.
by this and by sensing my friends that I was with at that time. So, but I can't sit here and say like, oh yeah, it was this and this. No, I can't. I'm not gonna
Mm.
lie either.
Yeah.
And it's tough being a single parent. From a mother's perspective, too. I have a son, and I think about all the time what he may be missing that
Mm.
I could not provide to him. There's
Yeah.
and which to your point, Luis, that women and men can't do what each person does.
Right.
There's just no way that seasoning can happen without actually.
Yeah, you need both.
You do need both.
Yeah,
You do need both. That's for sure. Okay, Ray, you said you were gonna break
definitely.
something down.
Yeah. So not entirely break it down, but so based off of what Natalie was saying, as far as you're pretty much like taught that at a young age, right? So I think just in general, um, I don't know who I would put this on, but naturally, like you said, the girls get dolls, the boys get
Right.
plastic hammers and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of awkward because they're trying to instill traditional
Values.
values and old school mindset in a modern day.
Oof.
And one thing that Ricky and I have had conversations about is things like that because the thing is, I think with today's society, when there's men that you got to be a man, right?
Mm.
But at the end of the day, like there's a lot of things that contribute into that. Way back in the days, when we could say maybe 60s, 70s, even maybe the 80s, the men went to work, the women stayed home,
Mm.
right? However, in California, you can't do that no more,
No.
right? So that's where we introduced the new value or the new modern
The modern
the
piece of it.
the modern piece of it. So women have to work
Yeah.
and the men have to work, but oftentimes, and there's gonna be men that might hate on me for saying this, But oftentimes I think men misconstrue that modern part by wanting to hold on to the traditional part by saying, well, I went to work and you're the woman, so you still have to cook and clean.
Right.
Mind you, she also went to work.
Oh,
And in a relationship, they always say relationships aren't actually 50-50.
no.
There's going to be, at some point within your relationship, if it's going to last, at some point it's going to have to be broken down and fractioned out accordingly. There's going to be moments where the husband is going to make more financially, so the woman's going to have to do something
Right.
as
To
far as like
compensate for that.
caregiving to compensate for that, and vice versa. There's going to be times where the load's heavier for one and not the other, and I think with them instilling the old traditional value by giving the little girl babies and kitchens and easy bake ovens and shit like that, right? I think with stuff like that, you're almost fucking up what you're still trying
Your
to.
innateness.
Yeah, you're
Right.
like, oh, here, take all these toys and learn how to do this. But but then the Barbie is a
Yeah.
boss Barbie.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yes.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, wait a minute,
Boss
is she supposed to be a boss or is she supposed to stay at home?
Yeah. What's she doing?
You know what I mean? So it's like you're still telling the little girl, like, oh, you could be a boss, but play with the little doll.
Right.
She's a big boss.
You know, so it's kind of
She's wearing her big girl heels.
it makes it a little confusing, and then to the point of for Luis, where he was explaining how he was raised more by his mother, and what he was saying is true. So they usually say that if a man in general will find how to be influenced by a man, and it's either going to be by the one in the house or the one in the street.
Oh.
No matter what, that's just human nature. I think even if you go into a single home, he's going to figure out how to be a man, and
One way or the other.
one way or the other,
Right.
you know. And to your point, Ricky, women, there are certain values that women can't
And still.
instill in a man.
Right.
There's certain things where, like, even with my son, I try to explain to him, one, him being a boy, two, he's just a little bit darker than some of the other kids. You know what I mean? So one thing we have to like instill and having a brain fart. We got to make it a point for them to know is that it's not the same for you, which goes to what Luis was saying is
Right.
women are, even in today's modern society, are finally realizing that the equality part isn't equal, because my son could do something and the chances of him being in trouble for whatever it is he did would be far more greater than
Yeah.
it would be for a woman. And then if another thing we would have to look at child support.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the situation is. Most of the time, the women is favored, especially in
There
California.
are exceptions.
There are exceptions. But when you're talking in a generalized sense,
Yeah.
that's just how it goes. And what sucks is, I know I don't consider you guys to be like that type of podcast where you have to like generalize gender roles.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's one of those things you really can't escape, because they're like, again, like Louis said, there's things that women can't do that men do.
So I want to go back to how you said, like, we're not equal, right? I've always said it. We're not equal, right? We are not created equal. But I wouldn't want to be created equal.
You're not supposed to be. though.
Under any circumstances, do I want to be your equal at all? Because one day, my equality may be way more valuable than your equality. And I'm putting that in a job perspective.
Yeah.
Right? You're applying for a job and, you know, you have two applicants and I'm different than this person is. There's differences. Those inequalities have value. Those differences have value.
Yeah.
I always told everybody, oh, it needs to be fair. No, it doesn't. It's not about being fair. It's about doing the right thing.
Right.
Which you're,
Hiring the right person.
like I said, you're 100% correct, because so let's put Luis and myself and you two ladies in a job, right? So our job is to work on the road.
Okay.
Who's gonna go work on the road?
You guys.
And what
And
are
I'm
you
not
gonna do?
and I'm not saying
But-
you
but-
guys, because I wouldn't do it myself, because you know damn well I would.
You
But-
would, but in that type of environment, you have limitations.
Yeah,
Okay,
not
wait,
as
wait,
strong
wait,
as
wait,
you
wait, wait.
are.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk. This is the perfect time to talk about this. Maybe it was a year ago that we were having a conversation with, I can't even remember who it was. We had some people here in the studio, and the topic came up about how there's no way women could ever compete with men in the same sport. Like, you can't have women in football.
You can't.
So here's the thing. Here's what I was thinking, right? You believe in evolution? Right? Like we evolve, right?
Yes, yes.
The what is that white thing? The fittest.
Survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest, right? Survival of the fittest and adaptation and evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the female was put into a forum with the male and it was a long-term thing, right? The female is going to adapt. The female is going to figure out how to compete now against a man. Initially, it would be a shit show. It would definitely be scary. Not scary. I don't know. Like, it's risky, right? Someone's gonna get hurt or die.
Yeah.
Because men will probably hesitate in their performance because they don't want to necessarily hurt you until they gain that confidence in hurting. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think
but
so.
given the opportunity, right? That's natural, right? When you put
Really
someone
evolve.
or something in a position where they have to survive, they will. And given enough time, a woman could, and that's a theory that
Fit
I
the
have.
part.
A woman could adapt to becoming that,
Strategically.
and with time,
No.
just like
Well-
the
well,
if
here's-
the little if you had the little
But-
frog in the lake,
Okay.
and then the little
Tadpole.
frog grew legs, and the little frog grew evolution, like, it's gonna happen.
Okay, so this is why I say strategically, because you could find an easier way than what a man could figure out, right? Men naturally, and through evolution or not, men naturally have more physical strength than a woman. And so let me put in this category for you. Right now, I believe in boxing, the WBC committee, I believe it's either this year or next year, they're actually passing for their own bout for transgender
Oh yeah, that's a whole
opponents.
that's a-
But here's the thing, right? So if it's kind of awkward, but at the same time, would you want a woman who was once a man, who obviously she now claims to be a woman, fighting in a sanctioned bout against a woman who naturally
Was born that way.
was born that way and does not have the natural strength that woman who isn't or wasn't
trans
born a
woman.
woman? You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
like
I wouldn't.
I get it,
I
but you
wouldn't.
know,
in that aspect, you have to, because I think what you're doing now is you're just trying to narrow it out to make your point.
Oh, I would never want to be
But do you get
yes.
what the I'm speaking more in a general
Yeah.
context. So without hesitation, the transgender woman would beat the shit out of.
Let me ask you this. Let's use wrestling as an example. If you blindfolded both wrestlers, do you think that a man would be able to know that he's wrestling? Oh yeah, well, with a woman.
Yes.
Hold on. I didn't just think of that for no. I had this whole visual in my head.
Okay, so-
the visual is important. First of
Are
all,
we not including cup sizes?
I had this.
I get it.
I
I
had
get
this
where
played
you're
out
trying to go.
differently in my head. Okay, the visual part is important.
It's okay.
You get what I'm saying, though, right? I'm just saying, given the opportunity and time, people, you will
Evolve.
and get into what you need to get into.
So how do men not evolve with their strength then? With what
Equally,
you're
huh?
saying.
Wait, no. Okay, no. Watch this.
So no. listen real quick though, because you're not.
I know.
I don't want to sound rude, but you're not listening. So here's the thing. Evolution isn't one-sided, and I think where you're going with it is women are evolving. So women can evolve to figure out how to do it, right? Or whatever the task may be. If you lock the two of them in the room, the way you're arguing it is that the woman is evolving.
Yeah.
You're not keeping in mind that the man also evolves.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
So
of course.
not only does his mind evolve, the man physically will always have a step ahead because he's also evolving. Unless there's some type of
Magic pill.
scientific magic pill or something that's actually giving the woman to fast forward her process of evolution, the man will always have.
We're gonna evolve at the same rate, but with different tools.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But-
and that's all I'm trying to
so
say.
that still goes back to Luis's point. Women are finally realizing that even though they fought so much for equality, you're really not as equal as you think you're going to be. You're only fighting for the equality of paper, to be honest.
Financially?
Financially, yes. Because at the end of the day, like the example I gave, if Luis and I and the two of you worked for a company and that company was a company that sends people out to work on the roads, chances of Luis and I being the ones working on the road will be a lot greater than it would be for
Yeah.
Natalie and Rickie.
Right. But just like if two people go up for a director position at a company, the dude's going to get paid more than the female's going to get paid, even though the female has way more experience and confidence
Yeah.
than.
That's
And I'm cool with that. Like,
that was my point though. The equality is more so for the paper than it is for the actual.
Yeah.
I could see that. No, for sure.
The equalness all around.
Yeah.
100%. I don't disagree with you, and that's important and valuable because we are valuable. We are valuable, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about what makes us valuable and why. Just to go back, what, Natalie, in your opinion, makes you valuable?
My being. God, Jesus.
You
Can
had a
skip-
whole week to think
I
about
know.
this.
Well, clearly,
You had a
I just
whole
showed up
week.
right now.
Luis gave
It's
us a
hard.
detailed explanation
This
of
is
what
Luis's
made
show.
him valuable.
It's about Luis.
Shout out to Luis, man.
But actually, let me ask this. So when you're looking for, when you're dating or when you guys picked your partners and you married the people that you married, right? Did it cross through your mind like, well, how valuable is this person? What kind of investment am I making here with the value? What is it that I value with these people? Does that actually cross your mind during the process? Should it cross your mind?
Yes.
Yeah.
Luis, go ahead, and then I'll go next. Or do you want me to
No,
go?
you go for it. I'm gonna think about it for a week real quick.
So I was thinking when I started dating Mike, the first thing was, okay, where the value was, what does he value in himself and his family? What is his family like? I value that he speaks a different language.
Hold
he
on,
speaks
pause.
Spanish.
That was so you're saying that the first thing that you thought about that you wanted to know is how he valued his family because family values is what's important to you. Oh, okay.
So family.
Okay.
Does he speak another language, which Spanish was important to me because I was thinking in the future, I want my kids to be raised with a big family. I want them to know the language, et cetera, et cetera. So, and also and you've seen it does go back to the paper, right? Oh, what does he do for a living? Is he going to be able to provide? Is he going to be able to, make sure that my family, meaning the future children that we have, are going to be okay? Are they going to be financially stable?
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, those things were
Those are three
first
good
and
things.
foremost.
So family, language,
Security.
culture, and then financial security. Those were your top three. Ray, did you look at your wife and want to? What were your three values that you were looking at your wife? And Luis, get ready for this.
To be honest, I think the only value that I did, and at the time, because you got to remember, we were all young. Well, I was, she was, but for me, when looking at her, obviously I was like, damn, she looks good. But but it's also just like I don't need financial, like the financial side. I think just naturally the way I was raised was to be a provider.
Got
So
it.
I didn't look at it like my wife needs to hold her end up, right? Her end is just making sure that I'm happy. That's it. It's that simple. I think for me it's more simple in that aspect where I don't need to know that she could hold her 50 side of the 100% relationship, right? It's just I wasn't raised that way, but I was also raised in the sense of you're not going to depend on a woman.
Hold on. So you are looking at her like you're providing for her, but then what was the last thing you just said?
I don't
You
ever
don't
have
need
to
to-
depend on her. Meaning when I come home, I don't have to worry that there's a plate of food like waiting for me.
Got it.
I could fend for myself if I needed to, right? So I never looked at really at any of the women that I ever dated. It was just it wasn't what the only value I would was looking for was that they could just keep me happy, right? Because
That's easy.
at the end of the
Fair.
day, if I'm the provider, I'm looking at a place to lay my head down and separate from the rest of what I had to go through the
I
day,
get that.
right? I don't want to have to come home and
Stress out.
stress out about shit that I don't need to stress out about. I'm already working to keep food on the table, and so that was my mindset. Obviously, like I mentioned before, Ricky, and just in general, in today's society, you can't just look at it that way. You have to adapt. You have to maneuver and adjust to whatever situations you're going
The
through.
realities.
You know, because there was a time when we were both broke,
Right.
but as my natural being and the way I go about things is I stepped out and made sure that we never went without, you
Ever
know,
again.
and there was times where I would say, hey, you don't have to go to work. If you choose to go to work, that's cool, you know, and then again, that value of my mom saying you wouldn't have to depend on a woman, like just make sure you're good to eat. If I come home and I don't have something to eat,
You can fend for yourself.
I could fend for myself,
Right.
but we don't have to, you know. So I think
So you were just looking for happiness, someone
I'm
that
just
was going to
looking
make
for
you
happiness,
happy
someone
and
that-
stress free, that can make you feel comfortable when you come home,
Yeah.
understands you, all that stuff.
I mean, you've seen how we are together.
Yes.
We're not. I mean, we fight like any couple, right? And we've argued in the past about money and shit like that. But I think at the point in our relationship that we're at now, I don't have to worry about that shit.
Right.
I know what I'm gonna bring, and I know what she's bringing that she doesn't have to.
Got it.
Which, by the way, I just want to shout out your podcast that you just premiered last week.
Yes.
The Salmon Ray podcast. Amazing. I love
Thank
it.
Yes. Yes. And I learned a lot about Ray listening to that podcast.
I mean-
it's a whole different side of Ray.
Sorry, but Samantha's just, I love her. I feel like she's my best friend. She's a hoot.
She's a hoot.
She's
that's,
great.
That's the
She's great.
the best word to describe her. So yeah, check out. Wait,
Check
is
out
it
their
the Salmon
podcast.
Ray or the no Salmon Ray?
It's the Salmon Ray
It's the Salmon
podcast.
Ray.
Off
I
tangent.
checked myself
Yeah.
real quick. With
Listen to them after you listen to ours. But okay, Luis,
that. Luis,
what do you got for us?
the three most valuable things that you were looking for and found in Valerie.
I hate to just piggyback on Ray like that, but I think he just honestly, I think he hit the nail. I mean, first I was like, dang, the big old booty. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. No, but honestly, it was peace of mind. For sure, peace of mind. I was still young. Well, not young, but I think it was just peace of mind. Yeah, I mean, just like Ray said, I mean, at the end of the day, I've been doing it. I can do it, and I don't need it. But obviously, something attracted me to her, and I think it was just that comfortability, right? That peace of mind at the end of the day. And it's worked out perfect. 9 years, so you know what I'm saying? I mean, I can't say it hasn't, right? So but yeah, I mean, it's not a long answer, but Ray hit it right there.
I think it just kind of shows the very differences between what men and women look for in other people, because
Our partners.
in partners.
Well, what are yours?
I don't know, because that's I was thinking about that. Like, what is it that what would I value in somebody else?
You had a week.
Can
Totally
so
kidding.
Ricky,
Yeah,
I don't want to answer it for you,
Mm-hmm.
but
please.
I've said this. I said this actually when I was a guest on your podcast
Yes,
last year.
that was a good show.
But we talk probably as often as my wife and I speak,
Yep.
right? Yeah, damn near on a daily basis. So, in understanding and having conversations with you, don't get upset with me.
Here it goes. Okay, Angry Panda. Here we go.
I think you think like a man.
Oh my God.
So the value that you set for yourself is exactly how Luis and I look at it. But that's only because you are the one that seeks to provide.
Do you agree with that, Ricky? Ricky's confirming yes. She's not saying anything because she's like about to be mid tears. I could see that.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's
It's
not.
all right.
No, because he's not wrong.
Yeah.
But that's not how.
You
That's
perceiving
not
yourself?
what I wanted.
Oh. Mm.
Damn right.
How bad?
No, it's it goes back to actually adaptability
Yeah.
and evolution. You do what you have to do.
Yeah.
I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to struggle that much, but my choices, my choices, and my
What do you say?
Naivety?
Expectations?
no.
I have yeah. What
do you mean?
What is that?
What?
So the direction that you chose to go in?
No, not people I chose, partners that I chose, right? So like, just the choices that I made with specific people in my life, like where I had to think. Why did I have to think like a man? Well, I had to raise 3 children on my own, right?
So you have to think like a man and a woman.
I go into provider mode,
Yeah.
work super, super, super hard,
Yeah.
without work super, super, super hard
Yeah.
to provide for my kids, and I didn't want them to just have a struggling life. I wanted to provide them,
With more.
a good home and traveling and all that stuff. But man, would it have been nice to have support, And like you said, Ray, like I had to think differently, and I had to put my mindset in a different place. And this is why I'm probably single and will be single for the rest of my life, because I can't. And I'm trying to actually turn that off. I'm trying to learn how to ask for help, lean on people, and damn, I really did not think I was gonna get this emotional over that, but here I am.
But it's fair. It's fair because it's your truth. And that's just what you've had
Right.
to
And
go
with,
through.
and with saying all that, I mean, that puts a better perspective if you look back at yourself. Like, look at yourself in the mirror. That puts a better perspective of what your value is.
And you know what? I feel like that devalued me, actually. I feel like thinking like a man really devalued me, because when I would get into, relationships, and that was always the common thing. The feedback I would get back from my failed relationships was like, you work way too hard. You work too much. Like, stop. Why are you always thinking about business? Why are you always thinking about money? Why are you always trying to do the next big thing? I'm trying to make money for my kids. I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to provide a better life. That's why I'm always thinking like that. There's no time to relax. There's no time to sit back and enjoy raising a family. No, that's not the hand I was dealt.
Yeah.
Right? So because my mind is like that, I go into situations where, and again, going back to denial, right? Like, how can I not just help and raise a family, but help other people? I'm always in that helping other people mode.
Right.
And I don't even know how to accept any kind of
Help.
tenderness or
For
value,
yourself.
or someone telling me like, damn, you know what? I appreciate you. You're valuable. Like, thank you for doing all of this. I don't know how to accept that, because it's just never. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. I don't wish that was my story. I don't wish that. I wish it would have been different for me in that regard.
But if it was, would you be who you are?
Right.
Right.
No.
So
Oh,
so to say that it devalues you, I don't.
I feel like
I-
it does, Ray, because I can't. What man in my life has said, I value you because you think like a man. I value you because of all your hustle. I value you because you
So-
work too many hours. What man? Not
They're
one.
the wrong. They're the wrong man. They're the wrong man. Simple as that.
100%,
I mean,
Luis.
they're just wrong man.
100%.
You got to be appreciated for what you are at the end of the day. Like if you're a hard worker, a hustler, and you're looking for the most, then find somebody that wants to do the same with you.
Yeah.
The misconception that people believe that two have to become one, it's not that. It's you're your own person, you're your own person, and we help each other build to our great success. And if you happen to leave at the end of the day, you became your true potential, and I became my true potential.
Amen.
Not twisted in between each other. And now, who am I at the end of the day?
Yeah.
But
Amen.
I mean, I think you're just, in a sense, I mean, be proud of yourself. You've done it where you're at for a reason, and then stop believing that you need somebody at the end of the day to be happier. Like find the
Yeah.
right person, and that's it.
Right. And
You know,
and Luis, and I'm so glad that you said that because it kind of really made me think about like the things that I want, like which is helping me answer my question. Like what I would value in somebody else is somebody else's own self-efficacy, like somebody else's own desire to do good and to be good, and someone's own desire to love themselves, and someone who is independent, someone
Yeah.
who is just as passionate about the things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So it's basically what I value is someone who values themselves.
I think
And
that
and then whatever I get from that is just like a sprinkle on a cupcake, right? Because I have to be in a place where I value and I love myself, where I don't need that other person's love. It's just a fucking sprinkle. It just
Yeah.
makes my life
just
better.
adds.
It just
Yeah.
adds to it, but it's not dependent on it.
Right, right. I think that at the end of the day, we just want a friend. We just want a life partner, someone to enjoy life with. And I think we downplay a lot. I don't know if it's ingrained or what is this conditioning that we do, that we think we need someone, or you're my better half. Ew, no, I'm my own better half. I am whole all by myself, and you are whole all by yourself, and we come together and we're great, and we're fun, and we're cool, and we can talk to each other, and we jive, and etc. But yeah, I don't know why we've become so exceptionally great at wanting to depend on someone.
Or need someone else's value in our lives. And when I say need someone else's value, right? Because I'm thinking about, what you were talking about and your own values. Like you needed someone to make sure that they have a good relationship with their family. You needed somebody that spoke Spanish. You needed somebody who was financially secure. Like you needed those elements in order for what? In order to make you feel better? In order to make you feel like a better person? Or because you just found that's those elements in that person made them just a better person.
And then and we can even going back to your evolution thing, so that the generation can evolve, can progress, can be
always
better.
the goal. That is always the goal for the generations to get.
Do you think that there needs to be a better understanding of what the relationships should be, right? So going back to like what Natalie is saying. So we all went through like the
whole
cycle
circle.
of whose values are what, right? And I have to say this just to clarify for anybody listening or watching. At the end of the day, your values are your values, and it doesn't make them wrong. They might be wrong to someone else, but if that's what you value and that's what you seek in someone else to be a value to you, then so be it, right? But like Natalie was saying, we have to kind of stop looking at relationships as finding someone to make me better. Like
Right.
First of all, one thing I always tell my mom when she talks to my sister, like, oh, you're going to find somebody. You're not going to find nobody. That person will come. You don't go looking for something.
Yeah,
You got to just let it happen. And when it happens, it happens.
I agree.
And back to Luis's point of understanding your self-value, your worth, and everything that you have and bring forth to it. You can't shit shame the person next to you.
Shit shame. I love that.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't sit there and be like, well, I bring this. You're not in a fucking relationship to be in a competition with each other.
Right. Right.
At the end of the day, you guys got to go home and lay down together. And if you lay down next to each other in disgust, then what's the point of being in that relationship? There's no competition in a relationship.
I want to say, and it's it's ironic that my dad's here visiting today, but it was really impactful, Ray, for you to say that I had to learn how to think like a man, and I immediately ran back to a very specific day with my dad when I wanted to gift a guitar to the father of my children, to my husband at the time, right? And we go to, I don't know, like Sam Ash. We go to some music store because I'm going to buy him a guitar because he wants to learn how to play the guitar. And I'm like, Dad, can you help me go and pick a guitar? I'm going to get it on credit. Like, I'm going to apply for credit. And then we're filling out the application. And then I put my husband's information in at the time, like how much money he made and where he worked and how long he had worked there. And my dad looked at me and he said, "Oh no, this
will not do.
This will not do. Like you're," and I can't remember if I already had my first son and pregnant with my second or just my first. And dead serious looked at me and was like, this cannot happen. You need to figure something out for yourself. Like, and I took it like for real what he was saying. If I don't do something for myself, if I don't end up becoming the bigger provider, I'm screwed. Like, there's no way out of this. In that moment is very much when it clicked in my head that I had to provide, that I had to provide in that very moment. That was a key moment. That was a key memory. You probably don't remember, do you, Dad? Yeah, he has zero memory.
Remember. He doesn't remember. He doesn't want to talk about it.
Give him a shot of tequila and he'll remember.
Luis, we have some tequila here that he will not drink because it's not the greatest tequila. So, Luis, we really appreciate all of your time and all of your insight. And I just realized I'm not even sure that we asked you in the beginning of this podcast about your song and how much we actually love your song so much. So I wanna just touch on that really quick before we wrap it up and get into the chat with everybody on Twitch. What was the inspiration of the song?
I had like 6 more hours to go. I was ready to go 6 more hours.
Hang tight, bro. We still got the chat.
Now, honestly, that I'm not gonna take full credit for that. That's also one of my friends, one of my good friends, Ruben. He's the one who mixed, mastered, produced lyrics. He's the one that did all of that crap. He's the one that got me into the whole game. So that was, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and pat myself on the back. That's the guy that I'm gonna give the whole credit to be honest. Like that's the mastermind. City Boy Tune on Instagram, Lil Guapo on Spotify and all that. He's a mastermind behind all of that. That's a whole different story to get into, but that's a funny story. But I mean, honestly, that would be a very good guest as well, guys. To be honest with you, he's a mastermind. Is all I'm going to say.
He's a mastermind.
It's fun. I mean, you hear the music. It's fun. It's inviting. It's everything that you want, right? I mean, it's emotional. It's everything. So once that came on, the beat and all that, we were like, man, we need to make this, and it happened. And the rest of my verse is on there as well, and that's all him right there. And I can't even buy it.
And the hook that got me was the part, because obviously you say vamos a cantar, tomar, so sing, drink, dance, but you put vamos a llorar, and that really caught. We're here to cry. I'm inviting you to cry. What with that particular lyric? Were you thinking of a specific moment?
No, that again, it's 50-50. That's him and that's me. So that's all. Again, that's the mastermind is him. To be honest with you, no, he is not. I'm surprised, to be honest with you. That guy. Well, I mean, from what I see, and that guy's hard as a stone out there. He's rock, man. He have no emotions from what I've seen so far. But It's I guess it's a lyric, man. You just feel it at the end of the day. To be honest with you, it's
Yeah.
just what's in the moment, you know.
No, I get it, and we're so grateful that you're allowing us to use that song because we
Yes,
think it's
we
just
love it.
it's a great. I'll never forget the first time that he sent me the song. I was having a really really bad day,
Yeah.
and I just had it on repeat. It felt so good, and it was really great. So thank you, Luis. We really appreciate you, and we hope that you hang out with us still as we wrap this up. Today's episode was produced live by Raymond Andrew at Rose City Sound with your host.
Myself,
Yes,
Natalie.
Natalie and I. For inquiries, topic suggestions, and sponsorships, please email us at onthisfrequency@gmail.com.
Yes, On This Frequency is available where all podcasts can be streamed. Watch a live stream recording every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Twitch at twitch.tv/On This Frequency. Watch us on YouTube and be sure to hit the subscribe button to be notified whenever we upload new episodes. And you can always support the On This Frequency team by buying us some coffee. You can send your donation at buymeacoffee.com/On This Frequency. And if you want to keep in touch with us on Instagram and on Twitter, our handle is simply at On This Frequency.
That was really smooth, Natalie. So for those of you tuning in on Twitch, stay tuned. We want to know about your value. Thank you so much for joining us.
Increase the peace.
Vénganse, vénganse, vénganse. Vamos a jugar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a llorar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a jugar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a tomar hoy, hoy.